It's just a few miles away from here, but it's a totally different world. They hold fancy dinners in this hall, while my neighbours queue at food banks. People come here to register the deaths of loved ones, the cause often being conditions that are linked to deprivation and poverty. The contrast between this hall and what we have in Garston is not an accident. It's the outcome of political choices that are now being made by a Labour government that have forgotten what the word Labour ever meant. I'm here today not just as a local councillor who kicked Labour out of a safe seat of 20 years, not just as a trade unionist, but as a mum, as a gay woman, and as a nurse. I am here as someone who's watching this country fall apart and wondering what kind of future my kids are going to have and where we'll even fit in society if we don't fight back. I see it every day, in our hospitals, in our communities, and on our streets. People are exhausted and they're working harder just to survive. Families are choosing between heating their houses and eating. Nurses are using food banks. Pride flags are being torn down. Working class people are being blamed for a crisis that we didn't create. We're told to stay quiet, leave politics to the professionals. Well, the professionals have had their turn, and look at the mess they've left us in. I'm so proud to be here tonight as one of the first Your Party councillors, alongside Alan and Sam, because I believe in something different. We need a movement built by ordinary people who have had enough. I believe politics must be rooted in the real lives of working class people, not in Westminster corridors. Change will never be gifted to us by those at the top. Change is built by us, on the doorsteps, in hospitals, in schools, on the picket lines, and in cities like Liverpool. If we don't take back power, they'll keep taking everything from us, including our hope. I'm proud to support this new movement, a party built on solidarity, for the people, not for the powerful. A party that speaks our language, fights our fights, and listens to our voice. But let me be clear, when we talk about solidarity, we don't just mean in Liverpool or in London, we mean international solidarity. From the picket lines in the UK to the streets of Gaza, our struggles are bound together. When children in Gaza are being bombed in their beds, when hospitals are turned into rubble, when people are subjected to occupation and siege, that is not a conflict, that is a genocide, and we won't be silent. The same politicians who cheer on the bombs in Gaza are the ones who cheer on our cuts at home. The same politicians that let arms dealers profit from war are the same politicians that allow landlords to profit from misery. Housing has become a commodity, not a right. Families are being priced out of their own neighbourhoods. Tenants are trapped in mouldy, dangerous flats. In Garston and across Liverpool, streets are dominated by unregulated HMOs, fueling antisocial behaviour, draining community spirit, and lining the pockets of landlords. Our social housing, which could save millions from predatory private sector, is being privatised itself. What's left is underfunded, substandard at best, and life-threatening at worst. The death of our Abishak and the tragedy of Grenfell should have been a wake-up call. Instead, politicians simply rolled over and went back to sleep on their piles of cash. Sorry, Alan. I'll finish soon. Healthcare staff are exhausted, underpaid and overworked, told to clap for their service while their pay packets shrink and their wards overflow. Patients are dying in corridors. Newly qualified nurses can't get jobs. I've spoken to nurses who skip meals on shift because there's no time for a break. And I've seen midwives reduced to tears because they can't give every mother and baby the care that they need. At the same time, we've got private firms lining up to profit from our pain, treating our health as a market instead of a human right. And what does the Labour Party offer us? More privatisation, more poverty, and more policing of the poor while the rich are walking free. This meeting tonight isn't just a ballot box project, it's a movement that will train organisers, fund campaigns and build power from the ground up. We've already seen glimpses of this power at Palestine rallies, nurses' picket lines, the Birmingham bin workers' strikes, rent strikes, and locally, recently we've had the Live Housing strike. We've had climate marches led by young people who refuse to be ignored. That energy, that determination is what this movement wants to harness and amplify. Now, look around the room. Some of us will say that there's no new faces here, that most of us have been in this fight for years, if not decades. They're right, but that's not a weakness, it's our greatest strength. In this room, we are a community that have built the NHS, fought Thatcher, marched against war and genocide, against racism and injustice. Time and time again, you have stood on the front line when careerist politicians have faltered, and today we're standing again. The future won't be won by us alone. Our task after tonight is to take what we know and have learned to a new generation. We must bring the youth with us into this movement, into the struggle for a fairer socialist country. The struggle has always been intergenerational. So commit to organising locally, go back to your communities and recruit people into this movement. Be visible and be loud. Tell people that this movement is here for them. I've got 3 asks of everyone here tonight. The first one being to email your local Labour councillors and MPs, if you haven't already, and tell them that that they're not getting your vote. Bring at least one more person with you to the next meeting, the next action, or the next campaign. And thirdly, consider throwing your name in the hat to be a local councillor along with me, Sam and Alan. That is how we'll grow, and that's how we'll win. If you've ever felt ignored or abandoned or betrayed, then this is your party. If you've ever wanted politics to feel like hope again, then this is your party. And if you believe that change isn't just possible, but it's necessary, then this is your party. Thank you.
Yeah, before the meeting, Lucy told me she was nervous, predicting it. Well, if that's what you do when you're nervous, I'd love to see you when you're composed and calm. That reminds me of a little argument we had with the leader of the Liberal Democrats in the council chamber. And Carl, he's a nice lad, you know, but he shouted at me, your group could meet in a phone box. Carl, this is a bloody big phone box. And I'm going to give you a few reminders because on your seats there is a card and you can sign up on any of the social media sites, and you can also sign up with a QI code, which I thought was something to do with Stephen Fry, but I don't know. And there will be forms for people who are not computer literate, which Audrey raised. And I think that is important. I believe there's 2 million people in this country who are not au fait with the computer. The next speaker, I don't think, will be one of them, because we do need young leaders of our movement, people who stand up over Palestine, who stand up against austerity. So I want to introduce the MP for Coventry South, Zarah Sultana.
Thank you so much. Friends, comrades, thank you for being here today. I want to thank the organisers, I want to thank the volunteers who have made this event possible, and I also have to give a special shout out, because otherwise I wouldn't make it out of here alive, to Audrey White and the Merseyside Pensioners Association. They do incredible work in this city. They are fantastic campaigners, and they have a manifesto which everyone should read. So I've been travelling across the country. I've been to Devon, Chingford, Sheffield, Leeds, Newcastle, but between you and me, I'm pretty sure Liverpool tonight is going to be my favourite. This city is very close to my heart. My great uncle came to the Albert Docks over 70 years ago from Kashmir, the reason I'm standing here today. And it's also the reason why I support the best team in the world. That's Liverpool. Sorry to the Everton fans. I can hear the boos. I genuinely can. I've already divided the room. Great start. But for my sins, I'm yet to taste the local delicacy, a pan of scouse. So if anyone can point me in the direction of a halal pan of scouse, I would be very grateful. Talk to me afterwards. Now, I know that the past few weeks, many of you have felt frustrated and disappointed about the launch process. I felt that too. So let me be absolutely clear. My motivation has always been to strengthen our collective project to build a genuinely democratic socialist party worthy of the struggles that have come before us, to fight for maximum member democracy. It has been regrettable, and for my part, I want to say I'm truly sorry. But we can't forget what we're facing. Fascism is growling at the door, and if an election was held today, Nigel Farage would be our Prime Minister. So the stakes are too high for failure to be an option, and both Jeremy and I are absolutely committed to making this project succeed, and we can't wait to see you here all over again in November for our conference. You're here because, like me, you believe that we can build a mass party of the left. And as the great Bill Shankly said, the socialism I believe in is everyone working for the same goal and everybody having a share in the rewards. That is the spirit we must revive, not just on the football pitch, but in every workplace, in every community, and in every street. Liverpool understands this better than anywhere. This is the city that stood up to Margaret Thatcher. This is the city... This is the city that faced down fascists when they marched here. This is a city that knows solidarity isn't just a slogan, it is a way of life. When others turned their backs, Liverpool stood up for justice, and we will always remember the 97, and we thank the Hillsborough families. We thank the Hillsborough families for their campaign for truth and justice. We salute your courage, and we will always stand with you. And today, in the face of war, racism, and economic cruelty, it is Liverpool's defiance that we must channel again, because millions of people are fed up. In fact, they should be. In fact, they should be fucking furious. Furious. Furious with life getting harder and harder, with the cost of living soaring while wages stagnate. Furious with being ripped off at every turn by privatized water companies, profiteering energy firms, bus and train operators hiking up fares, and landlords and mortgage lenders squeezing us dry. Furious of waiting weeks for a GP appointment and languishing months for a hospital waiting list. Furious of boarded up high streets, shuttered libraries and community centres, even public toilets locked up. Our shared spaces have been left to rot because councils simply can't afford to keep them alive. Furious of paying more and more while getting less and less, of being made to shoulder the burden of a crisis we did not cause, and furious of being told that there is no alternative to a system that simply doesn't work. Millions across the country are crying out for real change. When Jeremy was elected Labour leader, it gave us all hope. Hope that politics could be about honesty and decency again, about peace, solidarity, and working class power. And that's why the establishment waged out an all-out war against the left and tried to drive us out of public life. Many have now lost faith that democracy can deliver for them. They see politicians of all stripes as self-serving frauds, more interested in freebies like Sabrina Carpenter tickets or getting dressed by their rich mates. For reference, I paid for my own suit. It's from H&M, not Lord Wahid Ali. So trust in our political system is broken, and some in our communities have turned to the far right, not because they are all hardened fascists, but because there is a vacuum in our politics. For some, reform looks like the only alternative, but the truth is reform is just another wing of the establishment, funded by billionaires and aristocrats, fronted by a millionaire stockbroker and ex-public schoolboy, Nigel Farage. It peddles racism to distract us from its real agenda. More privatization, more deregulation, more handouts for the super rich, more cuts for everyone else. This is who they are. And the ground for this was laid by decades of politics as usual, with neoliberalism, just different color rosettes. We're told that there's no money for housing, there's no money for free school meals, there's no money for the NHS. Yet, somehow, there's always money for war, always money for corporate bailouts, and always money to give tax breaks to the super rich. Why is that? Why is there always money for war and never for the poor? And then we see migrants scapegoating and stealing our scarce resources, demonized by the media and political establishment. And the results are clear for everyone to see. The largest fascist mobilization in Britain in recent memory. Racist attacks in our towns, and women and children attacked for the color of their skin. This hasn't come out of nowhere. It has been emboldened by sections of the media and politicians who scapegoat migrants, Muslims, and minorities every single day. Reform is their parliamentary and political vehicle, and Farage gives them their parliamentary face. But the politics behind it is the same poison that fuels the far right in our streets. And I spoke at the Tommy Robinson demonstration because we have a duty to fight back. Because if we don't, If we don't fight back, the far right will keep filling that vacuum that has been created by Labour's capitulation and a broken political system. And we must be clear, you don't stop fascism by ignoring it or copying it. You stop it by fighting it at the ballot box, and where necessary, you fight the fascists in the streets. You fight by organising, by uniting working class people around a positive vision, and by building a movement that is broad and rooted in solidarity. In the 1970s and 80s, people came together through the Anti-Nazi League to drive back the National Front. That's the courage and unity we need again, an anti-fascist league for the 21st century. And we need our unions to step up. Sorry, but it's not good enough to have union logos on leaflets and banners. We need coaches, and we need people to fill the streets when the fascists turn up. Because as our history shows us, when we organise, we win. The far right thrive when politics is reduced to scapegoating, to division and fear. They want us to turn against our neighbours, to make us blame migrants and minorities for problems caused by the political elite. And the only way to beat that is to cut through the noise and to speak directly to people's lived realities. Housing, insecure work, wages that don't cover the bills, and the NHS on its knees. People don't need more culture wars. They need hope. They need material improvements to their lives. That is what we are fighting for. We're not here for tweaks. We're not here for lowering a few bills here and there and a sprinkling of a wealth tax. We are here for a fundamental transformation of society, the means of production controlled by workers. And another very simple idea, the working class controlling the wealth that they produce. It's called socialism. And let's be clear, working class people aren't turned off by class politics. They live class politics every single day. They see class war when their bills go up, but energy companies report record profits. They see class war when landlords hike up rents and evict families without a second thought. They see class war when bankers get bailed out, but austerity lands on their shoulders. And they see class war now when the richest 50 families hoard more wealth than half the population, and our country has more McDonald's restaurants, has more food banks than McDonald's restaurants. That's class war, and they live it every single day. So I say, let's embrace class war, because it's about time we won. And we've had some critics who say, you're splitting the left vote. But maybe they haven't noticed that it was the Labour Party who split the left. It was the Labour Party who dragged the party so far to the right that it dances to the tune of Nigel Farage, that it has revived austerity, and it is directly enabling genocide in Gaza. This is a Labour government that has watered down a workers' right package. It has attacked our civil liberties. It has labelled people of conscience protesting against genocide as terrorists. They are heroes. The real terrorists are the Israeli government and everyone else who has enabled this genocide. And they've turned cruelty against migrants into performance, filming deportations for propaganda, suspending family reunifications, and making endless concessions to hate. This is from a man who once vowed in this very city to never speak to the sun, but now licks the boot of its owner, Rupert Murdoch. Shame on him. And I'll promise you what I've always promised. I will never speak to the sun. I wouldn't even use it as toilet paper. Instead of standing up to cruelty, Labour tries to imitate it. Keir Starmer disgracefully used the same words as Enoch Powell, calling us an island of strangers. Shame on him and every Labour MP who went out to defend him. He claims migration has done incalculable damage. He's wrong. Migrants built this country. They are our neighbours, they are our friends, and we will never let him throw them under the bus. He'll have to come through us first. And the truth is, we're not an island of strangers. We're an island that is suffering, and we're suffering because of the likes of Keir Starmer, the political class, and the super rich who are laughing at us. Well, we're done begging for crumbs off the table. We're taking the fucking lot. And the billionaire class already have 3 parties fighting for them. It's about time the rest of us had one. And that's why we're here. That's why we're building a new party of the left, your party. The challenges facing the working class can't be met by a Labour 2.0 that mimics its structures or limits itself to reforms within capitalism. At best, you might get some temporary gains, but it can't fix the crises of inequality, exploitation, or ecological destruction that define capitalism itself. And nationalising a few industries isn't enough. We need democratic control of the economy by workers. Because capitalism isn't just a few bad bosses or greedy companies. It is a system geared and built for private profit, not social need. And as long as this system remains, it will continue to reproduce inequality and exploitation. It is only socialism that can lay the foundation for genuine equality, solidarity, and freedom. That is what I want us to be fighting for. A party rooted in our working class communities, proudly socialist, fiercely democratic, a party that builds power from below in our trade unions, in our tenants' unions, the climate movement, and the fight for Palestinian liberation. And let me say clearly, from Liverpool to London, our movement will be proudly anti-Zionist. We will stand for a free Palestine, a secular state with equal rights for all. Even today, despite a ceasefire being announced, we know Israel's bombs are still falling on Gaza. So peace means more than just a ceasefire. It means freedom from military occupation and apartheid. It means freedom for Palestinians to decide their own future, not war criminals like Tony Blair. So we will keep marching, we will keep boycotting, divesting, and speaking until Palestine is free and until every single person who enabled this genocide is held accountable for their crimes, because a day of reckoning will come for those who have enabled genocide. Blood is on their hands, and we will not rest until Keir Starmer, David Lammy, and the rest are in the dock at The Hague, held to account. as I said at an anti-war meeting in Paris at the weekend, and I will repeat it here, we cannot simply move on from what has happened. We must sever every diplomatic tie and relation with the apartheid, genocidal state of Israel. That means every ambassador expelled. That means every embassy shut down. Because Israel must be treated the same way apartheid South Africa was treated, as a pariah state. We cannot have normal relations with genocide, full stop. And your party must be unashamedly anti-imperialist. We know that NATO isn't about peace or security. It is an imperialist war machine that profits from death and destruction.
To some extent the NHS, but to a massive extent, it's the poorest families all over the country where somebody, nearly always a woman, has to give up work, give up job, give up career in order to care for somebody in desperate need. I say, as a community, as a nation, we should be paying for social care, not thrust the bill of it on the people that can least afford it. And that, to me, could be, again, a major campaigning point that we will want to do as a party. Now, I, like all of you, love the idea that we have free education within our society, of course. It's crucial, it's vital, it's essential in every way. But it's being eaten away at both ends of the scale. Preschool education is largely not free. Many have to pay for nurseries, many have to pay for childminding and all the other issues that go with it. Primary and secondary, yes, is free, but increasingly secondary and university education, tertiary rather, and university education is incredibly expensive. And that's why I was very proud to put into the 2017 and 2019 Labour manifestos an end to university tuition fees and a restoration of the maintenance grant for students. Now, some people who should have known better said, well, all you're doing is subsidising middle-class students going to university. I said, you obviously haven't read the manifesto or read what the proposals are. I want every student to be able to make a genuine choice whether to apply for uni, go to uni, get a degree or not, but not based on their ability to pay, not based on their ability to stand with a £70,000 or £80,000 debt when they come out of university. And it's not as if it's a gift to them. If somebody studies in university and they become a great engineer, they become a great teacher, they become a great administrator, they become a great doctor, whatever. We all benefit from an educated society. We all benefit from their education. So it's a principle that goes into it. And I was on a Zoom call with a whole lot of people last week, mainly teachers, talking about the stresses that teachers go through the way Ofsted operates, and talking about the stresses that school students go through, both at primary and at secondary school level. The stress of Key Stage 1 and Key Stage 2 testing. Come on, guys, let's just end it and allow teacher assessments instead, and not these horrible levels of stress placed upon them. And in secondary, we've become obsessed with league tables. Now, I love the Premier League table. I love it all the time, particularly this week. It looks fantastic for an Arsenal supporter. Sorry about that. I knew I'd lose the audience somewhere. But there you go. But if we judge all of education on the basis of league tables, judge it all on the basis of competition between schools, it's great for those students that do really well. It's really great for them. But what we're doing is dismissing the life chances and opportunities for so many 13, 14 and 15-year-olds by putting them into a stream situation, by not allowing them to apply to all the GCSEs they might want to. And we then lose them from the possibilities of what they could contribute to and achieve within our society. I want to see education much more teacher-led, pupil-focused, but above all, let's develop and encourage the creativity and the ability of our students, not just in maths and science, but in music, in art, in culture, in dance and theatre as well. And because of the way in which school funding is so badly run at the present time, schools often don't have the after-school clubs and facilities they used to have. And you all know that key period when teenagers come out of school, probably before the parents, guardians, the rest of the family have come home, that hour and a half when they come out of school can be a great time. It can be a wonderful time, but it can be a creative time. But where I represent, where many of you live or come from, you all know what the dangers are of kids getting into bad things, bad company, drugs or whatever else because of the temptations that are there. We need positive, useful things for young people to be able to do when they come out of school, not just be forgotten or thrown into only commercial opportunities or commercial entertainment. And so that's why I was very keen in both our manifestos to put forward the concept of a national education service which would give democratic control over education, reinstate the power of local education authorities, and take away the power of the market in the academies, the power of the market in the colleges, and the power of the market to so destroy the virtues of universities by turning them into playthings of the arms trade when they should be there investigating and investing in more productive things. There's so much we have to do. So our party, your party, is going to be for all of those things, I hope. And also, I hope we will understand that there are limits to what humans can do to this planet. We cannot go on pouring pollutants into the sky, increasing levels of CO2, destroying biodiversity without there being a price that we all have to pay. Therefore, instead of walking away from the environmental agenda, I want us to walk towards that environmental agenda and say we will support net zero by 2030, and we will also not threaten people's jobs in this. We will actually encourage protection of jobs in what are polluting industries while those industries convert into something more useful. When we were doing the Green New Deal agenda, Becky Long-Bailey and I did a lot of Green New Deal meetings around the country. Some of them are absolutely fascinating. You pull together a couple of hundred people from all sorts of different walks of life, divide them up so they don't know each other, because that way they're forced to talk to each other and express their points of view rather than chatting about personal business between each other, and talk about how they could make their town, their city, cleaner, greener, more efficient, and better hope for the future. Absolutely fascinating. The ideas that are there, what the bus driver said, what the train driver said, what the street cleaners said, what the small businessman said, and so on. Again, your party, big, local, community-based, we can be the ones, in reality, driving an environmental agenda in every town, every city, and every village in this country. We will be the creative heart of what happens within our communities. That's why we want this vast new party, yourparty.uk, to be active everywhere in the country, whatever the current political complexion of those communities and those societies. Now, as one who's got a great deal of experience of dealing with the media in this country, and what a wonderful, wonderful media industry we have in this country, it's just sometimes they don't always look for the right story. And I'm sure it's just a lack of diligence in some way. But it always seems to me slightly surprising that every single utterance, every single movement, every single cough taken by Nigel Farage requires to be reported in real time on every one of our live television broadcasts. The wall-to-wall coverage of the negativity of Reform UK, the sheer stupidity of some of the things they say, the deep ignorance that they demonstrate towards so many communities is never, ever challenged by our media. But anyone on the left, oh God, it's very different then, isn't it? Always attacking trade union leaders, always attacking politicians of the left, always attacking those on strike without ever giving the other side of the story. So what I want to see is a more democratic media, a more accessible media, and a right of reply in every one of our media platforms when attacks are made on individuals. And so when Farage and others routinely use the most disgusting and disgraceful language against refugees and asylum seekers, and report those people demonstrating outside asylum hotels like it's a perfectly normal and reasonable thing to do. I look at it in a slightly different way. I have been to Calais on a number of occasions. I've spent a lot of time talking to people in Calais. They're poor, they're sometimes mentally confused, they're all desperate, and they're all trying to survive. I've met people there that worked for the British Army in Afghanistan, and when the Taliban took over, they suddenly had no friends. Certainly not amongst the British Army that they'd once worked for, certainly not amongst the new government, certainly not amongst the warlords. They were just victims of global politics and a global war. So they went to try and find somewhere safe to live. So it's very easy to denigrate the different. It's very easy to denigrate those people that are totally up against it. But let's think of it another way. Different world, different time, different society. Any one of us could be a refugee. In 100 years' time, books will be written, novels will be written about the heroism of those that escaped from appalling human rights abuses, wars, environmental disaster, and so much else, made their home somewhere else, and made a great contribution to that society. So can't we, instead of this denigration of people trying to survive, do two things? One is treat them like human beings with humanity, and secondly, look at the causes of war. The wars we have been involved in Afghanistan, in Iraq, in Syria, in Libya, and so the list goes on and on. And it just breaks my heart, the numbers of people that lost their lives trying to cross the Mediterranean, trying to cross the English Channel, and so on. It's not right. And so we have to be brave and be prepared to speak up for humanity. It won't always make you universally popular, but sometimes doing the right thing doesn't make you popular, but in the end, it's still the right thing to do. And today, the people of Gaza are hoping, desperately hoping, and I've just had messages from people there, desperately hoping that there's going to be some kind of ceasefire, and at least that will mean the killing will temporarily stop. But Zara is quite right what she said, that the British sale of arms to Israel, the component parts for the F-35 jets, the constant use of RAF Akrotiri and RAF Dekalia to deliver weapons to Israel, the sharing of security information with Israel, the training of Israeli forces in Britain have all contributed to the acts of genocide. I was at the International Court of Justice to hear the application from South Africa, and last week I was in South Africa to support their application and their legal actions and compare the experience of them going through apartheid with what the Palestinian people are now going through. And it was a fascinating experience and wonderful people. They've done so much in support of the people of Palestine. But the Trump plan, it ain't a plan for peace, that's for sure. It's 20 points, and I'm not totally convinced that the esteemed President of the United States read beyond point 10, actually. But, you know, he may have, his eyes may have wandered down the page to 17 or 18, who knows. What it means is, as of now, even if the preliminary part of the agreement is adhered to, Israel still controls 55% of the Gaza Strip, which is a tiny piece of land where 2 million people were trying to survive, where 60,000 known deaths have occurred and many more have occurred. We've got to go a lot further. And it's not up to Donald Trump and others to sit around in the White House and decide what the future of Palestine is. It's a bit like the Treaty of Versailles, where they all sat round and drew lines on the maps and decided which European power was going to have which part of the Middle East. There were no Palestinians around the table, just like in the Congress of Berlin in 1884, which divided up Africa. There was not one African voice or presence around that table. So this is kind of 18th, 19th century colonialism that we see in operation. And Tony Blair being appointed the Viceroy of Gaza. I mean, I would imagine somewhere in the Liverpool Museum, you've got one of those Viceroy's plumed hats with the feathers and so on top. Can you lend it to Tony Blair? So when he goes to Gaza, he can walk ashore and say, I'm your Viceroy, I will govern you. Come on! Do we believe in the independence of Palestine? Do we believe in their rights? Do we believe in their participation? Or is it going to be once more just a place under occupation? And so let's, I know it's expensive and I know it's hard work, but whoever, whatever you can, try and get to the demonstration in London on Saturday the 11th. We want to make it the biggest ever march for Palestine this country has ever seen. And I will certainly be there. And there are so many other issues of international importance that relate to so much of what we do. If we as a country spend $13 billion a year more on armaments and a new generation of nuclear weapons and a whole new security idea that we have a global reach as a relatively small country on the global stage, what's going to happen? What's going to happen to local government spending? What's going to happen to housing? What's going to happen to social services? What's going to happen to education? You know, I know. Every single one of those services will face cuts in order to spend more money on weapons and more money on going to war. Can't we have a government that's dedicated to try and bringing about peace around the world by looking at the causes of war rather than going to war all the time? And so, we as a party have been founded, and it's going to be given the seal of approval, I hope, by the people of Liverpool at the end of November when we have the founding conference here, is to end the triopoly of economic thinking, of social thinking, of global thinking by the current Labour government, by the Liberal Democrats and the Conservatives. We will be that alternative voice. We can bring unity to communities. We can make our party part and parcel of the very fabric of every community in the country. Because when you fight to win a nursery, when you fight to save a hospital, when you fight to close a road from dangerous through traffic, all those kind of things, when you fight and win, it might be a small local victory, but you feel so big and so good at the end of it. You go on to victories after victories, and that's what we're trying to do. Mobilize people to end poverty, injustice and inequality within our society. Create a society not based on misery and racism, which is what's offered by Nigel Farage, but a community based on the lived experience of all of us, the strength that we all bring together to achieve that better, cleaner, fairer, greener world, a real socialist world. We have unity of ideas, unity of action, and above all, that will create unity of hope for the people of this country. Thank you very much.
Thanks very much, ladies and gents, comrades. I'm now going to ask Mel Bowen and the original series to come on stage. They're going to do a number for us, and then hopefully we'll have enough time to do a few questions that have been submitted over the last 3 weeks before we sum up. But one thing I will say before the band start is there is no point coming to a meeting like this just to clap, just to agree with everything. If we're going to change the world, there's a card on your seat and you sign it. You sign up tonight. And then you don't just sign up, you go on social media. And if people believe in your party, every influencer, every MP, every councillor, every member tries to persuade 3 or 4 other people. And that way, we really will change the world. Over to you guys.
Good evening. Good evening, people. How are we? Wake up. This is our shouts for the Your Party campaign song. This is a song called Counting on Good People. But before I start to sing it with our beautiful people, the original series, I just want to say it's 41 years last week since the Laird's 37 were locked up for campaigning to fight for their jobs. It's time that was put right. Victory for the Laird's 37. This is called Counting on Good People. Stepping over the body of Mother Earth herself. She has been begging for mercy about a long fading health. And it's always been about money, self-obsession and greed. Gold and black liquid honey, that's the message they feed. Come on, we're counting on good people, counting on to stand up for what is right. We're counting on good people, we're counting on to stand up for what is right. Counting up all the bodies on the West Bank today. People up against profits, stones for your bullets of hate. And it's always been about money, yeah, self-obsession and greed. Now there's a blackout in the New York Times and on the BBC. We're counting on good people, we're counting on to stand up for what is right. We're counting on good people, we're counting on to stand up for what is right before it's too late. Too late. We're counting on. 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 Oh, good people. We're counting on. We're counting on. We're counting on. We're counting on good people.
We're counting on.
We're counting on good people.
We're counting on
We're counting on good people.
We're counting on
We're counting on good people. We're counting on, 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 we're counting on good people.
counting on.
We're counting on good people. We're counting on good people. Everybody, we're counting on good people. Come together. Get involved, people. Good night. Jeremy reckons Liverpool are going to win the league, by the way.
Absolutely fantastic. And I will say about this band and a whole load of others at District and other venues in Liverpool have always showed working class solidarity. I've backed every political campaign of the left, stood up for Palestine, stood up over the workers fighting for justice. So the original series. I know a few people have to get off, it's that time of night, but we are going to have a couple of rounds of questions. Because of the numbers, we put out on social media to submit questions, 60 people put in questions, and we've tried to boil them down. I'm going to ask, this is a big ask, for Jeremy and Zara each time to try and reply to the questions in about 2 or 3 minutes. So, because we don't want to go on till midnight. Some people might, but you know. So I'll just read out the first lot of questions, which are about the party itself. Then we'll look at the outside world, which I personally think is more important, but we won't change it without building your party. So the questions people have asked is, how will you ensure the conference and the decision-making body of the party is democratic? How do we build a party model responsive to the membership? How can we ensure that the party mobilises new talent from across our movement? How will candidates be selected to represent all our communities? How do Jeremy and Zara see relations with the Green Party developing? And I will say in Liverpool, when the Greens had a better chance of beating Labour, and they did, in Sefton Park, we stepped aside for them because we believe that solidarity and unity is necessary. And the leader of the Green Party in Liverpool has said they're going to do the same for us. Can the panel assure us that any further disagreements or disputes will not be played out on social media? So I'm going to step aside at that.
Hi everyone, thank you for sticking around. Yes, I will attempt to answer all the questions in order. So how can we ensure that conference and the decision-making body of the party is democratic? I think the executive committee of the party should be elected through one member, one vote. I don't think there should be any seats reserved for MPs, including myself. And I think that would ensure that members control the party. I think that the fact that we have sortition for conference, I know, has led to a lot of people asking questions. I think we should have a version of sortition that is more democratic and therefore allows people to have speaking rights, even if they don't have voting rights, so things don't go through just by acclaim. How do we build a party that is responsive to the membership? I think a community organising model is incredibly important, and I was proud to work as a Labour Party community organiser in the unit that Jeremy created when he was leader of the party, because that understood that power lies in our communities and that work has to happen outside of an election cycle, and if that work isn't happening, you become irrelevant, and that means supporting tenants' unions, it means supporting parents organising to make sure kids are fed in the summer holidays. holidays, it's the campaigns for affordable buses in our cities. That has to be the foundation of this political project, and that has to feed into political decision making. Ultimately, what we want to build is a mass movement party, and to answer the questions around how do we ensure that new talent from across our movement is harnessed, we need to have youth spaces, a youth section, similar to what I came through myself, through the student movement, and through obviously the Labour Party, but that can't just be a tokenistic photo op. We just don't want young people there to tell us what TikTok videos to create and what and make photos look more diverse. We genuinely want to empower young people because they have ideas around policy, around campaigns, around strategy, and essentially in left-wing language, we want to create cadre so the rest of us are replaceable, because that's what we're here to do, bring more people in and create a platform for the social power that exists in our communities. How will candidates be selected to represent all of our communities? I said before, mandatory reselection is important. You cannot have a job for life. You are in Parliament because members have put you there. And I would say, unlike the Green Party, policy passed at conference because conference has to be sovereign as a democratic decision-making body. Policy that is passed has to be binding, and MPs, councillors have to follow that policy. Otherwise, what is the point? And then finally, with the Green Party, we will work with the Green Party and any other party who wants to defeat fascism and stop Nigel Farage from getting into Downing Street. We also have to understand our differences. Zach Polanski, the leader of the Green Party, said that he absolutely would continue diplomatic relations with Israel. I absolutely disagree. It's a genocidal apartheid state. And if anyone wants to look up the Green Party online on their website, you will see that they believe NATO has an important role in maintaining security for member states. I think NATO is an imperialist war machine and we should withdraw immediately. And finally, yes, to the question about disputes and disagreements, no more of that, I can assure you.
Thank you. As quick as I can on the points that have been raised. Conference decision-making body, absolutely crucial that it's one member, one vote, and we use all the technology that's available to us to ensure that all members can take part in voting for resolutions of conference, rule changes and so on. Founding a new party is not without its complications, if I may just reveal that in the privacy of St George's Hall. And there are an awful lot of things you have to think about in doing it. And the first conference will not be the last conference, it won't be the last word on everything, it will be a developing process. The deliberative meetings we're holding over the next 6-8 weeks or so are going to be a very important part of how we develop local organisation, how we ensure we get the best of everybody. But it's also very important that in all of those events we recognise that people are going to be coming into a political organisation or political movement often for the first time in their lives. Some will have been in the Labour Party, some will have been in other parties, some will have been campaigners for different causes, but quite a lot would have never had anything to do with anything before. They've got to all be equally welcome within any organisation we set up. We don't want that sort of horror story of new members turning up at Labour Party branch meetings. Everybody's staring at them saying, there's a new member over there. Who brought them in? Who let them in? Who let them in? It's got to be open and inclusive. And that means that whoever is organising local meetings, make sure you give everybody a chance to say something and everybody a chance to be heard. That's actually quite important. Now, being responsive to membership is absolutely crucial and what goes on. But it's also crucial, and this leads on to the other questions about how you organise talent within the community. It's how our local branches operate. We could easily become an inward-looking party with an inward-looking bureaucracy, and we spend a lot of time discussing what we think of each other or what ought to be or what could be. No, the community out there needs something a bit different. They need something that is going to challenge child poverty, homelessness, excessive rents, and all the other issues that are faced within our society. So my suggestion would be that every single local branch must guarantee that at least once a month they have an open public event and discussion within their community on what they're doing, what the campaigns are, and what the issues are taking forward. So we're there as part and parcel of the community. On candidate selection, what I'd also say on mobilisation is, I mean, we've all got particular policy issues that we're very concerned about. I raised a number today on education. I'd also add to that mental health, social care, and so on. We've got within the thousands of people that are supporting what we're trying to do, people of enormous knowledge and ability. Let's harness that knowledge and harness that ability. Maybe set up sort of policy commission of people that work in the health service, people that are fascinated by education, those that want to do something about special needs education, all those kind of things. Give voice to the talent that we've got within our communities. We don't have to buy it in from universities. We've got it amongst us all within our communities, and let's make sure we use that. The other point that was made is on the selection of candidates. That, I think, has to be done as openly and democratically as possible, and I agree with Zara, there has to be a mandatory reselection process every council term, parliamentary term, whatever it happens to be. But it also has to be that they have the support of the community in some way. I'm not necessarily advocating primaries because they're very complicated to organise and incredibly expensive, but some kind of interface with the local community where people who support the party in a particular area can all vote on what their perceptions of each candidate are, and each candidate obviously must have elected guarantee to do full reporting back. On relation to the Green Party, yes, there has to be a relation to the Green Party. There are areas that I don't agree with the Green Party on. Some of their foreign policy stuff I have question marks over, and I've had disagreements with them on socialism, social justice and other issues, but I agree with them fundamentally on the environmental issues that they put forward. And yes, of course we have to cooperate with them. We want to make sure the best, most radical voices are there in council chambers, in Parliament and elsewhere. And that means cooperation with other people in order to achieve it. And that I'm sure we can do. I have a local relationship with the Green Party. Sadly, it didn't stop them from still running a candidate in the general election, but the candidate was wonderful, and she told everybody to vote for me, which was very kind of her. But it, frankly, would have been better if the Green Party didn't have this rather odd rule that they must contest every single parliamentary constituency in the whole country. And I'm sure Zara's done the same. I've raised that with Zach, saying, you know, come on, man. Grow up a bit. You can do something a bit different here. And I think we can, because why are we doing this? To mobilize people on a radical alternative agenda. Mobilize people in order to bring about political change within our society. We can do that. Social media, I'll finish on this, is a fascinating, wonderful, beautiful space. But some of the people that inhabit social media and write comments on social media are not always helpful. Some of them are incredibly rude, some are incredibly nasty, and if I'm on a long train journey and I've got nothing else to do, I enjoy myself by blocking people that send me abusive messages, and that'll get you from London to Glasgow and you've got rid of half of them. So yes, we don't need any public spats, we don't need any public disagreement, we need a determination. We're going to make this party work, we're going to build this party, it's going to be big, it's going to be good, and above all, it's going to be successful. Thank you.
Right. Second set of questions. What is the party's position on trans rights? What will be the party's stance on Ukraine? Can your party confirm that it will campaign for the abolition of free ports, special economic zones and charter cities in the UK? That was actually one of the most popular questions. And what does the Trump plan mean for Palestine? Which I think speakers have actually talked about. Okay, Zara?
We were debating the order on this. Turn and turn about. On trans rights, quite simply and quite bluntly, trans rights are human rights. Don't denigrate people with trans, don't discriminate against them, and don't destroy them. And let's just accept that there has to be human rights at the very heart of everything that we do, and we will not allow the Tories or anybody else to take us away from the European Convention on Human Rights or out of the European Court of Human Rights. They are not foreign courts. They are part and parcel of UK law. On the second point, the stance on Ukraine, well, it says, what is the party's stance on Ukraine? Well, at the moment, obviously, the party hasn't discussed it, and so therefore there isn't a party stance on it. My stance on Ukraine is, one is, I hate the war. One is, I hate the First World War nature of the war, where conscripted soldiers from Ukraine are killing conscripted soldiers from Russia, and vice versa. If the two countries can come together to discuss grain shipments and sales, can come together for temporary ceasefires and prisoner exchanges, for goodness sake, come together to get a ceasefire, stop the killing, and come to some arrangement for the future which involves both NATO pulling back and Russia pulling back, and some kind of independent monitoring group being in there to monitor the ceasefire that's going on. We cannot go on just observing this war, and the only people that are doing well out of it are the arms industries of the West and of Russia and of other countries around the world. That is just to, in case there's anybody listening who wants a specific, my view on this, I do not support what Russia has done in the invasion of Ukraine. It is obviously wrong, and I've done my best throughout all this time to keep in touch with Boris Kargalitsky and others who are very brave peace activists in Russia. They're our friends, they're our comrades, just like peace activists are all over the world, and we should be keeping that support for them. On the abolition of free ports and special economic zones, absolutely, because if the idea of a free port is what? Is it a place that's free of regulation, free of health and safety regulation, free of taxation, free of conditions, free of employment protection legislation and all the rest of it? I think I know what the agenda behind free ports is. I want to see a protected, regulated, properly paid, properly respected workforce wherever they happen to be, and that includes in places that they're trying to set up as free ports. So let's not support them. And on the Trump plan for Palestine, I think we've made our position very, very clear on this. I'm just horrified beyond belief at the killing of children who are dying without antiseptic, anesthetic, in desperate pain. Why? Because Israel wants to destroy the lives of Palestinian people. And within 5-10 kilometers of where they're dying, there's food, there's water, there's medicine, there's electricity, there's everything a child needs. What are the historians of the next century going to say about the politicians of this century that allowed genocide to go on live television? Nobody can say they didn't know what was happening.
Jeremy's answered all the questions. I really don't have much to add other than a few things. The party's position will be decided democratically by our members, and I hope every single person here who hasn't already joined will join. But obviously, I would advocate that our position is what Jeremy said, that trans rights are human rights, and a politics that doesn't defend the most marginalized isn't worthy of being called socialism, and that's what we have to do. On Ukraine, I was really proud to attend an anti-war meeting in Paris at the weekend, meeting comrades from Code Pink, the Democratic Socialists of America, the Belgian Workers' Party, comrades in Italy that have been involved in the general strike, where dockers and workers and students have brought the country to a halt for Palestine to stop the flow of arms. And I also met incredibly powerful people from Ukraine and Russia who want the war to end, for there to be no more bloodshed, and who are crying out for peace. That's what needs to happen. We need to have a global anti-war movement that pursues peace. And ultimately, you know, Vladimir Putin is a gangster, criminal autocrat, and Zelensky is also no friend of the working class. We are here to fight for welfare, not warfare. We are here to fight for wages, not weapons. And we want war to end, is as simple as that. Jeremy's obviously covered the Trump plan for Palestine, but I also want to acknowledge the work that Jeremy has done on the inquiry on the genocide. Multiple days of academics, lawyers, Palestinians from Gaza and elsewhere talking about the crimes that have been committed and enabled by our government. And so while a ceasefire is desperately welcome, we know that that is not the end of our fight, because we have to dismantle apartheid, we have to dismantle the military occupation that still exists. And right now, Gaza is still being bombed. And we have to keep fighting until Palestinians decide their own future, and there has to be accountability for those who have committed or enabled genocide. And like I said, we will not stop until they are in The Hague paying for the crimes that they are guilty of. Thank you.
Okay, I'm asking now Teo Aluko to come up on stage. And he's going to close this evening for us, and I hope you do stay, because it is a very special day. I don't know if everybody's aware, but on this day, on October the 9th, 1940, John Lennon was born. And I think many of us remember about 4 decades ago turning up on that piece of cobbled ground out there, and devastated that we'd lost one of those sons. And I'm not a Scouser, as you can tell. And I can remember in 1962, I was sat with my mum listening to the wireless then in Crewe, and the Beatles came on with Love Me Do. And you know what my mum said? She got the only prediction she was ever right. She said, those boys will go far, and they changed the world. And in a moment, I'm going to introduce Teo to close this meeting. But I just want to ask you, imagine a world where you have a party that has no equivocation about standing up for working class people, that always stands up for peace, that always stands in solidarity with the oppressed. Imagine a world where everybody has a roof over their head, where we build 100,000 or more council houses every year, where we rebuild and renationalise our National Health Service, and when every elected representative from our movement stands in solidarity with their brothers and sisters on the picket line and on the rent strikes and any other struggle that's going. That is what's at stake. So I'm going to... If you want that to come true, then you've got to join this party, and then we really can imagine a socialist Britain, and in the end, a socialist world. Teo is a fantastically talented guy. He has done a one-man show about Samuel Coleridge Taylor. I've heard him sing numerous times, and he is one of the people who stood up against the prescription of Palestine action. So, to conclude, I'll hand over to Teo.
Thank you very much. Thank you. I sometimes take an old song and change words. Tonight's song, when I was looking at it, I realized it needs absolutely no change. It is actually a socialist song, completely, perfectly fit for this occasion and for this party. It includes lyrics, I hope someday you'll join us, so that's even better. But there is one chant that I would like to suggest a change to, which is, oh, Zarah and Jeremy, oh, Zarah and Jeremy, oh, Zarah and Jeremy, oh, Zarah and Jeremy. Anyway, okay. I'm sure Jeremy doesn't mind that. Okay, so imagine. Imagine there's no heaven. It's easy if you try. No hell below us. Above us only sky. Imagine all the people living for today. Oh, imagine there's no countries. It isn't hard to do. Nothing to kill or die for, and no religion too. Imagine all the people living a life in peace. You may say I'm a dreamer, but I'm not the only one. I hope someday you'll join us, and the world will be as one. Imagine no possessions. I wonder if you can. No need of greed or hunger. A brotherhood of man. Imagine all the people sharing all the world. You may say I'm a dreamer, but I'm not the only one. I hope someday you'll join us, and the world will live as one. Thank you. Jake and Matt. Thank you very much. My play is on Saturday and I have some flyers.
Okay, thanks very much everybody who's turned up tonight, and have a great safe journey home and a good weekend, and remember, change in the world starts here. Join your party. Thank you very much.